do that. Do you guys all have banking, like business checking accounts for the most part? Okay, because Wells Fargo does have a business checking account, several different products. But even if you don't have a business checking account, if you maybe feel like you're not at that stage yet where you want to go out and incorporate and get your EIN number and open up a business checking account, you can designate a specific personal account just for business and only use that for business. You know, only say, okay, this is my business checking account, even though it may be personal, that I'm only using for these expenses, because that way you'll know what you're spending and whether or not you're paying yourself enough and you're even being charged enough. I also want to talk about, you know, when you do business, how many of you guys are service-based businesses where you offer a service? Okay. All right, so product is not so, product is a little bit easier, but you never want to do business with a handshake. You always want to have a contract. You always want to have some type of contract that lays out what your scope of work is, what that person can expect, as well as what you're doing. Because sometimes what happens is, if you say, I'm doing X, Y, Z, and it costs this amount. Well, then when they come back and ask you for some extra stuff, you're thinking, well, that costs extra, that takes more time, but you didn't charge them for that. So now you're going back and you're saying, well, how do I charge them more? How do I approach that conversation with charging them more? Like, are they going to want to pay me, or or you just do it for free and don't worry about it and hope that it'll come back? But you have to have a contract and say, even if it's just something that says, this is what we're doing, this is what it covers. So if they ask you for something that's not in what your scope of work, then you can easily go back and say, this is what this was, this is the additional fee for X, Y, Z. And that's really, really important, especially in service-based businesses, because a lot of times we tend to throw in extra, hoping it'll come back to us, when that's not normally what we do. And then if they come back to you and you do something else for them and you don't include that, that's what they've expected, because you've already set out and did that for them. I talked about making sure that your pricing is accurate. You know, if you don't know how much you should charge, do a little research. I call it a swipe file. And if you are similar to a business that's in the same city as you, the same state as you, and you think, well, they may be a competitor, we are a big US of A. If I want to know something, I call a business in Seattle. How much do you charge for X, Y, Z? Because they're not my direct competitor. So I don't have a problem doing a little research and figuring out what other people charge. Because a lot of times we don't maybe tend to want to, call the pet sitter down the street, because, well, they're going to know I'm a pet sitter too. Well, with the internet, you can call it another business. So you know that you know your worth. I mean, that's kind of what it boils down to. Know your worth and charge that. And Tori mentioned about she doesn't barter or do free unless it benefits her. Sometimes you can't avoid bartering. Sometimes you can't avoid maybe doing something for free if it benefits you. But if you're ever in that case, I tend to barter some things, but I also charge a fee. So if I'm bartering, I may barter one thing for you, but I may charge you a fee for the other. So instead of bartering 100% of whatever it is, I may barter 50% of that. And if I'm doing something for free, because sometimes when money changes hands, that person's got skin in the game. Because if you're always doing something for free or bartering, then that goes to what your value is and how you value your time. But I always think if a person asks for a discount, you should bundle your services and not discount them. So maybe add something into it for that same price, but stick with that price. If you say it is $250 for this, then be quiet. That's it. And if they come back and they want to say something else to you, or kind of have you negotiate with you, well, it's $250 for this, but I'll be willing to do this also, add it in. And then I send invoices. If I do something free for someone, I send them an invoice with what the price would be, and then I'll just put comps on there. But they need to